嗨，大家好，这里是电波图大波湖。在北京时间11月19日凌晨，微软模拟飞行开发组举行了一场在线 Q&A 直播节目，和往常一样，回答了玩家们关心的很多问题。此次直播节目中的重头戏是公布了2023年的全年计划以及头3个月的详情，料是非常猛的呀。本期节目分为2个部分，在开始是对本次 Q&A 直播节目的重点内容的总结，之后是我对 Q&A 节目转播过程的全程录像。这里也预告一下，在未来几天呢，大波湖也会根据此次 Q&A 直播中的新消息，以及近期通过各方渠道汇总的一些新内容，来制作一期全新的摩飞新闻节目。欢迎大家关注频道，第一时间了解游戏开发动态。好，先说一下本次 Q&A 节目上的一些重点内容。首先是当前的热点问题，免费更新的专业级客机 A310， 这个大家都几乎是都很喜欢的，但是很多人，尤其是 Xbox 版的玩家发现贴图质量极差，在 Xbox Series S 上几乎是就是像自动驾驶面板上的字根本是读不清的，全是糊的。还有 EFB 上的很多这个输入的问题，以及 PC 版很多人玩家也发现了就是其他玩家的 A310 的声音极大。现在这些问题官方已经解决了。现在公测服已经发了一个新补丁，在这个新补丁里已经解决了这些问题，估计下周或下周应该就能正式更新了。下面这个问题其实是一直存在的，只不过因为这次40周年纪念版的更新，涌入了大量的玩家，造成微软的服务器不堪重负，掉线情况变得非常常见，就造成了这个大家应该都遇到了。就是只要掉线，游戏就会弹出一个窗来说你掉线了，你必须得点一下确认。但此时比如说你这是很干扰飞行的嘛，比如说此时你正在进近，那你就完蛋了，是吧？微软提到的说是这个会改，因为当然这个是从一个用户体验和 UI 设计的层面来去改了，但官方也解释了当初为什么做了这个弹窗出来，是他们也发现很多玩家在汇报问题的时候根本不知道自己是掉线了。当然了，这就是看他们的 UI 和用户体验的这个设计优化了，现在我们也没什么可说的。然后还是 Xbox 版的问题， Xbox 版在这次 SU11 更新之后LOD 就是地形细节变得贼烂，就是很可能地面是完全是糊的，什么都看不清。这次开发组是详细解释了这个问题，其中提到一点就是因为 Xbox 是为了保证帧率，他们有很多是自动调节画质的这么个系统。当然这个现代很多几乎所有的现代游戏都有这个系统，只不过呢在 PC 上这个系统几乎是不存在的，因为用不到存在，因为说白了就是用 PC 的大家还是对这方面懂一点的，相对来讲玩主机的可能对这方面不懂，所以在主机上的游戏大多都是有这个系统的。这次开发组相当于对这个系统进行解释。为什么解释这个系统呢？是因为这个地形的这个变烂的问题是根源是在这儿，是因为在 SU11 里面有一个副作用，让 frame time 帧时间变长了，这是不应该出现的问题，但是出现了。帧时间一变长，然后游戏引擎就会降画质，是这么来的。当然他们提到了现在已经定位到了问题，而且内部版本已经修正了。不过这个修正在刚才提到的现在公测版里还没有，我估计12月有可能会出来，应该差不多。虽说12月欧美人都在打酱油，都在摸鱼，但也不至于不干活吧，对吧？然后是气象雷达这事儿，这个想要完整拟真客机的各位现在应该是就是最大的痛点是在这儿了。比如说像 Phoenix 像 PMDG 都表示游戏在 SU10 中提供的那个所谓的气象雷达 API 他们是用不了的， 因为那个所谓的 API 就是现在 A310里的那个气象雷达，只是一个气象的平面图，没有任何高级功能。比如说 Phoenix 上面想要做这个风气变指示，这是做不出来的。但是这个之前微软也提到过，包括这次也说了，这个问题的核心在于，微软找的这些气象数据提供商，比如说 Meteor Blue， 对于他们来说，这个气象数据本身属于商业机密，不可能说很自由的暴露给你去读。当然，这次微软的负责人也明确说了，他们正在和这些数据提供商进行更进一步的谈判。微软是想让插件开发者能获取更多的数据，当然这个是看他们的谈判的过程和结果吧。Yorg 就是微软的负责人，说是明年年初可能会有初步结果，到时候肯定会跟大家去公布了。然后是上一次的加拿大世界更新，尤其是那些更新的城市质量贼差，这是 Yorg 在这次直播节目上公开道歉，说是正在做修正。然后是2023年明年年初的计划，今天公布的料非常猛，所以会比较多，各位可以跟我来。首先是一个12月的一个12月还有一个小更新，是更新有3架官方发布的当地传奇飞机也会有一个更新这个就带过。然后1月是一个新的更新类别 AAU， 叫 Aircraft and Avionics Update， 飞机与航电更新。这个系列就是专门的去更新飞机的操控体验以及航电系统。为什么是这样呢？因为看了一下他们公布的明年计划，基本可以说是，系统更新会变少，因为各位也发现了，其实现在游戏还能做的新系统，确实已经很难想到还能做什么新的东西了，对吧？但是微软呢就想我们更新也不能闲着嘛，所以相当于把这个针对官方提供的飞机和这些飞机里的航电的更新的单独拉出来，成为一个新的类别。然后明年1月的更新是这个，在明年1月的更新里会有飞机更新，包括塞斯纳奖状 CJ4、塞斯纳奖状精度 TBM 930，其中精度是点3版的飞机。然后航电会有佳明 GNS 430、530。佳明 G3000、G5000， 上述的所有飞机和航电的改进都是 Working Title 来做的。Working Title 就是前几个月游戏的那个 G1000的翻新，就是他们做的。关注过，其实 Working Title 最近几个月一直在通过自己的渠道发布这些信息嘛，但是这次是通过微软渠道正式公布。上述所有改动会在明年1月正式放出来。这次直播过程中，Working Title 的负责人 Matt Nishan 自己来介绍了这些东西，这些飞机和航电的所有改动，介绍的非常详细。感兴趣的可以看一下后面的那个后面的转播全程里是有全部的他的来解释。说的非常详细，感兴趣的可以看一看。当然有一些这个重点的一些事情，我先提前说了。首先是，其实 Working Title 自己有一个 CJ4 的插件，但是那个插件的代码他们这次直接没用，他们完全是重写的。这个新版的 CJ4 是完全重写的。然后佳明 GNS 430、530的公测版现在已经登陆游戏内市场了，各位可以去提前体验了。然后 G3000、G5000 呢，他们Matt 自己吹牛说和真机看不出区别来。同时呢，之前我有个视频提到了这个他们做的新版的这个 G3000、G5000 里，会把原来他们那个公开的第三方的插件里存在的 Navigraph 的这个接入会干掉。但是这次他们也官方确认了。这个 G3000、G5000 会有完全公开的插件系统， 也就是像 Navigraph 自己也说过，只要有插件系统，他们自己会写个插件然后接进来，所以这个功能的缺失大家不用怕，到时候肯定会有解决的。以及既然说这个插件体系是公开的，那么可以后续各个飞机可以自己实现特定功能，比如说现在这架 Honda Jet 它在 PFD 上那4个页面是它自己实现的。然后以这个新版 G3000这个情况来说，在新版里它再实现的话，这个难度会更低，因为插件体系是完全公开的。这个是明年1月 AAU1， 然后2月是世界更新12新西兰。这次新西兰也是由 Orbix 开发的，主要由 Orbix 开发。Orbix 总部就在澳大利亚，所以就在边上。York 表示这是一个美丽的更新，然后伴随世界更新会有一次当地传奇，是 DHC for Caribou 驯鹿，也是由 Orbix 开发。现在 DHC 系列飞机游戏里已经存在了3架了，比如刚刚游戏免费送的 DHC 2海狸，然后今年年初的时候Aerosoft 发布的 DHC 6双水塔这些都是 DHC 系列的。然后 DHC 7也就是人们常说的冲7， Simwork Studios 在开发冲7，就是 DHC 7。DHC 1啊，对 DHC 1在市场里也有的，对，想起来了。DHC 全家桶，我估计应该都会有人做出来了。然后3月是系统更新第12代，会 Xbox 玩家等了快1年，届时应该是等了1年了。那个 WebAssembly 的技术修正到明年3月。这真是等到明年3月去了。到时候，我能说的，这包括到时候像 BAE 146，像 Cessna 310，到时候都能上游戏那市场，就是 Xbox 那边的游戏市场都可以上了。以及 PMDG 到时候会不会把他那些波音的飞机拿到市场里呢？那是当然只能他们自己决定了。然后 SU12 还有一个叫 Scenery Gateway， 就是地景工作室的这么个功能，这功能这次没说细节，现在也只能说猜了，到时候才能知道。然后3月伴随系统更新还会有一个著名航空器，这次是 ATR4272，就是之前官方预告了1年多的那架飞机，是 Hans Hartmann 亲自，这次是 Hans Hartmann 亲自来讲解。这次是讲得很深入，和刚才那个 Working Title 一样，他 Hans Hartmann 是很深入的讲解了这架飞机的几乎所有系统。感兴趣的朋友可以一会儿看稍后的这个转播录像里是有的。简单说一下，就是这架官方发售的 ATR 是和 ATR 总部深入合作的。ATR 总部提供了完整的设计文档，这些文档甚至可以说都是机密，直接给这个飞机开发者了。所以我觉得这简直是作弊，因为 Milviz 也就是现在改名成 Blackbird 的那个工作室，他们也在开发 ATR。我不觉得他们手里有这些文档啊。当然是刚才那句话是我猜，如果真有，各位可以指出一下啊。当然这个讲得非常详细，而且吹的牛很大，希望到时候真有这个水准。有 EFB 某个工作室PMDG 然后2023年的全年的初步计划是公开了，世界更新会12到15，城市还会有3个城市更新，就是小型的世界更新。然后当地传奇会伴随着出，著名飞行器会伴随着出。然后刚才提到的 AAU 这个全新系列会做3个，系统更新现在只公布了12，至于还有没有其他的现在不知道。 另外，明年已经计划了还有3个惊喜。至于是啥呢？可能会是联动，因为这次有人问了，以后还会不会有像壮志凌云啊，像是光环的那些联动啊？尤尔果表情很精密的说了一句：“可能会有哟。”我估计是这个惊喜里估计会有一个联动，但是什么联动呢？各位可以发散脑洞了。当然，计划他们已经公布了，这就说明这个联动是什么联动的这个谈判早应该已经谈下来了，而且已经在做了。所以我们现在只能说是猜它是什么，我们已经不能说是这个影响他们会做什么了，他们已经定了啊，是这个意思。然后这次还提到了一个，就是为了庆祝40周年版的这个上线，微软在美国密歇根州的这个叫 Evergreen 的这个博物馆里办了一次现场活动，请了很多人去这个现场体验什么的。但是这个博物馆很有意思，这次40周年版里不有那个休斯 H4 大力神吗？那架飞机只造过一架原型机。那架原型机保存至今，就在这个博物馆里。他们是在这个博物馆里开的这个发布会。而且你看那个，还记得那个大力神，后那个客舱那个机舱里有个桌子，上面有顶帽子嘛？那帽子真的是在那儿。啊，剩下一些其他问题，这里就挑一些我觉得是大家关心的啊。首先是有人问到了一些雪的问题，比如说跑道上的雪，还有一些雪景的精度问题。Asobo 的 CEO 表示，其实这事儿他们也很惊讶，因为在2020年末的时候不是这个样子。各位老玩家可以回想一下，2020年末是在游戏时装了雪，这个整个的雪的系统，当时是没这些问题的。然后Asobo CEO 也提到说，这个问题怎么来呢？这个问题是在今年夏天的时候改出事儿了。但是今年夏天的时候，大家是因为大多数人还是在用实时天气嘛，所以而且北半球的人口更多嘛，所以很少有人发现这个问题。现在终于到北半球的冬天了，这个问题才暴露出来，是这么来的。然后他们已经定位到问题了，而且已经内部的版本里已经在修了。然后雪景这个事儿，微软提到是跟这个第三方提供的，就是他们找的这个数据源有一定的关系。他们就刚才提到这个气象雷达那个事儿吧，然后除了气象雷达的这个更多的数据之外，他们也在和这些气象数据提供商去谈这个更多的关于雪的数据能不能开放出来。然后剩下还有个云的问题，各位应该很多人也感觉像是云每次更新云的这个系统都改的越来越差。这次官方说是那个官方没有明确回为什么说每次都感觉都变差的问题，但是Asobo 的 CEO 非常详细的讲解了游戏里的云、游戏里的气流都是怎么生成的，非常的偏向技术性，技术细节非常多。感兴趣的可以看后面的这个录像回放。然后还记得安2吗？本来计划是今年3月要发售的，结果当时2月底发生那个事儿，一直搁到现在还没有出来。微软说是谈判就是沟通是没有断的，还在谈，因为现在的局势还是比较不能说乱，但是这个还是在进行过程中，所以现在还没法谈定。但是微软也是一个定心丸吧，说是联系没断，就这样。然后有人问到光追，新消息是他们正在做，但什么时候不确定。然后关于这个 Xbox 这个 WebAssembly 这个修正，为什么会等了快1年嘛？微软的那边说是他们为了确保玩家体验，这种属于完全的吧啊， 作为这个熟悉公关语言的大家都懂。当然，明年3月看看会不会还会跳吧，对吧？然后剩下说是什么水体物理，像季节，像 ATC，York 都说是这些系统其实挺难的，也先打了个预防针，说是明年也不一定能做完。这个也看明年他们的这个开发进度吧。剩下就是滑翔机的这个能不能被其他玩家拖拽，这个说是他们正在做。然后 DLSS 和这个 FSR 造成的航电模糊问题，他们注意到了，但是之前几个月就整个开发组都在忙40周年纪念版，所以没有人力。现在他们有人力空出来了，但这方面我有个疑问啊 ，Sobo 空出人力来，他们能做什么？因为这个 DLSS 和 FSR 的实现分别是英伟达和 AMD 做的，他们能做什么事呢？到时候我们再看就是了。当然，说到刚才那个York打预防针，说这些大系统可能明年做不完的这个事儿，我现在又想到一个问题，这刚才不是说在明年的整体计划里只公开了一个系统更新12吗？所以我在想，因为你看啊，AAU 这个更新，比如说 AAU 的这个第1弹，全是 Working Title 做的。那 AAU 2是什么 ？AAU 3是什么？我甚至怀疑，明年一整年Sobo 在这方面的投入的人力会减少。我现在是只有这个想法和担忧，因为你看啊，刚才提到的打预防针那几个事情，季节、水体物理和 ATC 这些系统完全是要做的话，肯定是在某一个系统更新里去试装，对吧？但是他们说明年系统更新只有1个，所以我现在有这个顾虑，说明年Sobo 的人力投入会降低。当然，明年还有惊喜，指不定是啥呢，到明年再看吧。今天 QA 节目的猛料是不少的，这个总结也很长时间了。其实最近因为40周年版的契机，微软的负责人以及接受了很多媒体的专访，以及呢，这个刚才最开始也提到了，现在公测服上也有了个新的版本，然后还有很多其他渠道的官方级别的信息，我会把这些信息再汇总一次，然后一些事实我都会再验证一次，再总结一次，然后在未来几天还会出一期视频，来系统性的总结近期和未来会发生的事情。也请大家关注频道，然后第一时间了解墨菲开发动态。之后是今天 QA 节目的我进行的全程转播，这个感兴趣的朋友可以继续往后看。
This stream is cleared for takeoff. Hello, Simmers. Welcome to our end of the year Microsoft Flight Simulator developer stream. My name is Jane. I am the Senior Community Manager for Microsoft Flight Simulator, your host today. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us for today's stream. As you can see, Marcel's unable to make it today, but we have two fantastic people on to talk about all things Flight Sim. First, welcome back, York, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator. How are you doing, York?
I'm doing great. It's been a few months.
It has. Glad you're back. Thank you. Second, welcome back, Sebastian Vlock, CEO of Asobo Studio. How have you been, Seb?
Hi. Happy to be back.
Happy to have you both. I already see some questions rolling in, so I'll take this time to just go over our schedule of events for this stream so everyone knows what's happening. So first of all, we'll talk about, of course, our latest release, 40th Anniversary Edition. At that point, we're going to be asking everyone here for feedback and questions from the 40th and how your experience has been. We'll also go over, how it's been on our side, a couple feedback items we definitely want to discuss with y'all. After that, we'll talk about 2023, what you can expect from us in the coming year. And we're going to follow that up with a fantastic presentation from Matt Nishan at Working Title and a surprise update from one of our aircraft developers. And at the end of the stream, we'll be answering some of your questions, and we'll have a discussion on some of the questions and feature requests that we received in the forums. So that's our schedule of events. I hope everyone enjoys. So we're going to kick it off to Jorg to start our presentation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and happy birthday. Happy birthday to the 40th of Microsoft Flight Simulator. I know some of you have been here since the very beginning, so let's go celebrate. We had a chance to celebrate the 40th in style at the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum in McMinnville, Oregon last week. And I thought I should give you a quick mini tour. I'll keep it really short, but we had such a fantastic day. I just thought we'll share something. Yeah. So we invited 30 creators and press from around the world. They all came. We started the day in a huge theater with my favorite quote from Da Vinci that I look at every single morning when I get to work, and talked a little bit about the history of the franchise. 40 years, 6 times best sim, 30 plus million simmers, and that is before Flight Sim 2020, by the way. And then we quickly talked about the time since launch, and that we did 27 updates in 27 months, which was fun and kind of shocking in the way. And then we talked about the top 3 community wishes, and we started with the A310, which we went into some detail with. I think a lot of you tried it already, so we can talk about this later. Seb then demoed helicopters and all the cool innovations that went into the development of that. Martial, who is not here today, demoed gliders, and he nailed the landing at the very end, barely, I might add. And then we talked about some classic planes, including the Spruce Goose, which was super appropriate because that's the museum where we were in McMinnville that houses the Spruce Goose. Then we had a quick Q&A. That was fun, and it felt really connected to the community, so it was great. And then just couldn't resist to put that picture in here. Sergio peppered us with helicopter questions, in particular Seb. And I don't know if Sergio is here, but it was great fun to see you there. And so, yeah, and that was basically the setup. Then we went over to the other museum, which was basically, what's cool about that is there are a bunch of docents there that are super knowledgeable. They explained everything to people who attended. So here they are. I've learned a ton from those folks just talking to them. And then I wanted to show a picture of the Spruce Goose outside of the cockpit and just how huge this thing is. It's we always say, oh, it's the biggest plane in the world. Yeah, wow, it's like a ship, crazy. And then here's a picture from the other side, which is what's the setup where everybody was playing and simming. And then the next picture shows looking, yep, people hard at work testing the 40th anniversary edition. We had a bunch of cool interviews. We celebrated a bit here with how to use his hat. We made a special wine.
That's so pretty cool. Wine. Okay.
And it was it was a truly wonderful day. And it was just great to celebrate with members of the community and the press. And then I think what's cool about this 40th is this, I put this together, for everyone. When we launched in 2020, we had 20 planes in the standard edition. Now we have 37. And that's cool. And we also have a new visual ID for what it's worth, right? We worked on this quite a bit, just to basically pay tribute that we now have helicopters and gliders going forward. So I just wanted to give you the super quick, hey, here's what we did. It was great, something else. It felt like we honored the franchise appropriately. All right. And I think now we're going over to the first Q&A session. Jane, you want to go?
Absolutely. So thank you, Jorg. So let's discuss 40th anniversary edition with you, chat. If you have any questions about it in particular, how it went for you, any feedback, please feel free to share it now. We're definitely going to be answering some questions here. I already have a couple lined up that I would love to ask while we see questions rolling in. One is for you, Seb. I have a couple helicopter questions I've been seeing throughout the forums and everywhere else on socials. So now that helicopters are officially in the sim, do we plan to continue to improve the flight model and the helicopters themselves?
I would say yes. So basically the helicopters have been put out in a state where we went all the way we could go, using the feedback of pilots, instructors. Basically, we're now in the state where we're waiting for feedback from the community and also from people who would make helicopters. If there's requests for new features, feedback on improving the flight model, we will listen while we work on I would say on a plan for bigger improvements for the longer future. But short term, right now we have time to make improvements, fixes, anything that would be reported. So I've booked some time for that, and yeah, looking forward to feedback.
Awesome. Thanks, Seb. I know, helicopters are a different beast. I learned that this week in our helicopter stream with Sergio from Helisimmer. Throughout that stream and in general, a lot of the community was wondering if we ever plan on adding some type of helicopter tutorial in the sim.
Seb, do you want to answer this? Should I?
Yeah, so there is no tutorial right now because helicopter flying, from my experience, is mostly about the flying, right? It's I mean, when I flew, I did exactly the same circuits than I did on a Cessna. Navigation was very close. Everything was close except controlling and taxiing, because we taxied in the air. So what we thought, it was much more important to have a good assistance, because the difficult part is controlling the helicopter. I would agree that, yeah, helicopter tutorials would be great, but as we had only time to do one tutorial, gliders, where I would say the flying is close to any airplane, but it's more important about how do you launch, how do you get up in the air. There was a lot more to learn about outside of just the simple control of the aircraft, which we chose gliders. So maybe down the road, but right now, for the flying, yeah, the assistants do a great job, and the other, I mean, the hint I got is just well, there's not so much to explain. You gotta feel it, and turn on assistances when you get comfortable. Turn off the cyclic, and do a few hours, right? And when you're comfortable, turn back on the cyclic, and then turn off the rudder assistance. That's gonna be difficult, especially hovering. And when you're comfortable, then you can try turning off both. But I mean, except getting in the hours, there is not much on the pure flying that I could say. I mean, yeah, we can explain the whole physics and everything, and I think there's a little bit of that in the introductory flight, in the flight you get on the main screen, and of course, yeah, maybe in the future there's going to be more. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I was just reading the thread while Seb was answering. I mean, hopefully by now, a little over 2 years in, that we read the forums religiously. We pay attention to what you're saying. When people say, "Hey, gliders need work, helicopters need work," you can always make things better. We will pay attention, and if helicopter tutorials is something that people really, really are needing, we'll do it. It's just a question of time. So just keep the feedback coming, please.
Perfect. Thank you, Seb and Seb Jorg. So, great question I'm seeing in chat here about the connection error. This is the error that users get whenever there's a blip in the online service. It's been noted as it can be distracting, especially if they're on final, so they have to click OK and then gain control of their aircraft. Is this something that you'd be able to change or improve for future updates?
So yeah, I think improving would be easy, right? It's not we can. So I this is the first time I hear this, and I think the error has been out there for a while. So thank you for the feedback. I think the goal of making this very visible is that we see quite a lot of people who are actually sending images or videos and are in offline mode and don't always realize. So we wanted it to be very clear when people were losing online connection. And we look at maybe adding a way to mute this thing or something like that. Of course, if that's a request, we will work on that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Seb. And the other piece of feedback I'd like to talk about is on Xbox. So many users have reported there's been a reduced level of detail on Xbox. I know you've been looking into it this week. Do you have any information to share with us on what might be causing it?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is something that got broken that was not caught during testing. So we looked into it, and it was we were lucky; it was not too long to find a fix. Explanation is very simple: is that there's a system on the console, because the console has limited resources. I mean, PC also has limited resources, but way more than we need. And so there's a system which protect the memory and performance on console. If the content is too heavy or if there's too much stuff going on, we turn down detail. Usually this does not kick in at all. And it is based on frame time, right? If the frame time gets really slow, we say, okay, maybe there's too much going on at this time in the sim, and we tune down some detail slider. Unfortunately, with some work on, I think, DirectX 12 or recent work, the frame time measure got changed or broken. And so basically the sim thinks it's running slower than it is, and it's turning down detail. So this is already fixed, and it's going to come out in one of the future updates as soon as we can.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not deliberate, right? It was an accident that unfortunately we didn't catch during flighting or test.
Yeah, sure. So now that the issue has been identified with working on the fix, like one of the users here wants to know, in the future, will you be able to balance stability with visual quality on Xbox going forward?
So yes, I mean what we have in place is a system that automatically adjusts things when it's getting too heavy, but we also, on the other hand, try to optimize constantly. We're always, I mean, even now, we're always still making little improvements and making everything more efficient, which every time we do that also benefits back into the PC. I mean, at some point in the future, we will probably reach a limit, right, where we can't just make things better anymore, and where the detail will not just be able to grow. But for the moment, yeah, that's our plan, is that we have the system which automatically adjusts, and we continue to improve things wherever we catch improvements.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a question in the forums, a couple questions about snow, and some visuals to go along with here. So the snow question was, will we ever get rid of the snow on runways, taxiways, aprons, and roads, is the first question.
Yeah, so yeah, I was surprised by this question, because actually snow got introduced on Christmas 2020, and we did have a system to remove the snow on runways and streets and everything. So I was surprised about this, and then yeah, I checked the sim now. It's winter now. I mean, almost, and there's more snow around, and I say, oh yeah, the snow is back on the streets, and what's going on? So actually earlier this year, maybe around sim update 9, the snow removal on roads and runways got broken, and maybe because it's the summer, it wasn't that much visible or noted. And so now that it got reported, we saw it, and it was also same thing, very easy fix to get that back to working as it was probably last winter. And same thing, then the LOD change, we will push this out as soon as we can with an upcoming update. So yeah, it's unintended and did not get noticed, probably because, I mean, most of the people are in summer and didn't have snow.
Yeah, and the second part of that question is, yeah, will we see high quality snow coverage so we don't see snow and frozen water? It shouldn't be like in the Alps, Norway, Alaska.
Yeah, so I did a quick investigation. Here's the place that got reported, and indeed, currently we have a data coming from the live weather provider, which tells us, hey, this is how much snow there is in this area, and indeed the area resolution is a few kilometers. It's quite big, which actually works most of the time. But when in this case the valleys are extremely narrow and deep, like I think it's 2 or more kilometers deep. And so there's snow in the top of the valley on the side, and the bottom is completely snow free, and so it looks like this completely snowy area. If you go to the next screen, I looked at the data that is actually out there. There is data which has enough on the next which has enough accuracy. And yeah, you can see clearly there's only snow on the top. So basically, this is something we need to improve in the future. So have discussion with the data provider. How can we get better data? And so the data is there. It's just about the time and how fast we can implement this. But I think there is a hope that this can get better.
Yeah.
This is actually related to something that's in the chat here about the weather radar API. So we have a quarterly sync with MeteorBlue, and we're going to bring both of these things up. This one, the resolution is there, but we're not currently seeing in the sim. Then people want access to the weather via the API differently than the 2D map that we're currently giving. That's something we need to chat with them about. But we have all kinds of things. We have future features that we're going to discuss with them as well. So we'll get back to you early next year with answers on this.
Perfect. Thanks, Evan. Jorg. So I'm seeing a question going back to the Xbox LOD, mentioned a fix coming soon. They're wondering, does soon mean like next week in this beta branch or in a future flighting? Do you have any information on that, Seb?
I do. So I think this is the likely scenario is that it's coming from in mid-January.
Okay.
Which is, we all looked at each other. Seb said, "Hey, I found the bug," and I said, "Darn, it's going to take us a little bit," and there's obviously snow. But we have a flight going already that we can't interject this into. That's why basically we have to wait till this is over, and then you get it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next question for Seb about weather. Go ahead and switch. Okay. So this was from the forums asking about, they were going through the Feature Discovery Series 3 aerodynamics video, and they're wondering about some of the features that were showcased in it. Volumetric clouds to match turbulence, up and down drafts, towering cumulus clouds, up and down drafts to match actual weather, and they're wondering, they feel like this is missing. They're wondering if you could go over some of these features and how you feel about them, if you think it's missing or if it's there and they're missing it. I have some photos as well. Okay.
Yep.
What? Was this for me?
This is
this is for me.
Seb.
This is for me. So Jane, are you
hear
done?
Me? Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I can answer right now if you're done with the question, Jane. Yes, so everything we showed in the video, Feature Discovery 3, I think, was captured in the sim. Everything is in the sim. So I just showed a screenshot of whatever. So in preset weather, you can pretty much make anything of, I mean, you can't do everything, but you can do a lot of things. So all the thunderstorm, cloud formation, whatever, you can do all that. In live weather, well, it's really depending a lot on the live weather data we get. Some thunderstorms do have a pretty high cloud sometimes, mostly in the summer. I mean, I just looked outside this morning driving into work. There was actually something which felt and looked like a towering cumulus cloud. The only thing is that it's like pretty cold now also here too. And the thing was barely 3 kilometers high, but it really looked like a mini towering cumulus clouds with rain on the bottom. And so, well, there's way less sun right now. The same things exist here. Now they're smaller, the updraft is smaller, and that's the kind of stuff you would get then in the live weather data. Whereas in June, we have here like a giant storm sometimes where it's maybe 12 or more kilometers high. And so this is all in live weather. It's very much depending on the data we get, but it can do everything that the weather preset can do, which is as many like structures as you want, which can take the form of a thunderstorm. The drafts are, I mean, I'm gonna give a little bit of history on the turbulence and drafts. So they were there since launch. At launch, we had an automatic simulation of airflow in the world that was doing hills, slopes, houses, buildings, trees, and basically obstacles. It was simulating the airflow around obstacles, and clouds were sort of pushing the upwards in the middle and downwards, so it was creating some sort of airflow on clouds. Any other turbulence, if you were outside of a cloud or in the air, was just pure random. It was depending on the wind speed, there was some random turbulences which were generated. A bit later, I think that was in 21, we added support for water surfaces, so that basically turbulence and everything is different on water, still the same system. And earlier this year, and I think it was sim update 9, we changed the system for turbulences and said, hey, now we want to have realistic up and down drafts in preparation for the gliders. So we introduced in sim update 9 thermal simulation. So it really calculates the sun coming in, the angle. So in the winter, there's much less energy. or at night there's no energy, depending on the slope of the hills, how much energy is coming, reduced by clouds or air, like if the air is clean or whatever. And then it hits the ground, there's the ground albedo, ground type, if it's forest. All that creates a heat on the ground, which heats the air, and if the air is hotter than the average around surrounding air, it goes up, and when it's colder, it goes down. So we introduced that in SimAbit 9, which what we did is we tried to have the turbulence intensity being about the same. It's just that they're not random anymore. If you look down, you will find something that generates turbulence, which actually makes sense. And that was in preparation for the gliders. However, since launch, vertical wind speed has always been limited to 1,000 feet per minute. Then on SimAbit 10, the only change we did is we increased the limit to 1,500. Basically, looking at the feedback, well, if everything is crazy, we would have fixed it. But if people said, hey, that's not too crazy, it's too weak sometimes, we made it bigger. What we changed also, in SimAbit 10, we made it so that turbulence is still, it's depending on the wind. So if there's no wind, like if you turn wind to 0, you can remove turbulence. Unfortunately, we don't have a turbulence button or slider where you can turn it off. But you need to know that if you don't want any turbulence, just take the wind, turn it to 0. You will not have any drafts, nothing. It's going to be completely clean air, which is something which is temporary. At some point, we're going to introduce turbulence UI, and then you're going to have a lot more control. And we'll have wind without turbulence or turbulence without wind and all that.
Yeah.
And then the change in SimAbit 11 for the glider is really just a visualization of everything that was always there. We unlocked the maximum vertical speed to 2,000 feet per minute. So it's the same intensity. It's just, it can go higher up. And the only change is really that we introduced the conservation of energy, so that you can't have something where in a desert, everything goes up everywhere, which is not possible. If something goes up somewhere, it has to go back down somewhere else. So what we do is we basically conserve energy, and where there's the most updraft, it goes up, and then somewhere else, it has to go back down. So that can be water or forest, or if it's in the desert, I checked a lot of desert. I checked all sorts of areas in the world. In the desert, there was some darker rock that was going more up, and then the more sandy area was going back down. So it tries to create this sort of, well, it's going up, pushing down, and like this. Clouds still work the same. They also have an energy conservation now. So if you have a cloudy sky, it's going up in the cloud, it's going back down all around. Depending on if you have a few clouds only, there's going to be more updraft under the clouds, but very little downdraft around. If you have a less area where there's no cloud, well, there is less area for air to go down, so it's going to go down stronger. And so that's the current state here. We're looking for feedback, and we're starting to get a lot. What's also important is that you have the visualization, which was introduced with the glider. You also have a new dev menu. I think that's in one of the screenshots here. If you go into the dev menu, dev mode, in the options, you can, at the bottom, you see experimental, and there's some weather debugging window that you can now turn up. And there you see all the data that we have, whether it's the data that we get from the provider, the calculations that we make, how we compute the energy, everything's there. And you have more visualization debug modes where you can turn on to see how the wind is reacting. Our goal with that is that people who have feedback can see the tools, can see the data, and give us more, basically give us facts, right? Say, hey, this should be this much, or this is not working right. Because you can't see turbulence, right? So you have to talk about something that you can't see, that you just feel, and it's hard to describe. Now there's tools which allow us to get this better. And then we have our own plans to make this better. I think I talked about a full CFD simulation. So currently it's sort of partial. It does some of the energy conservation, but it doesn't have everything. So this is still in R&D. We're basically going to move forward step by step and get the whole atmospheric flow more realistic, based on feedback too, right? I think it's already a very big step forward. And also, as soon as we get some UI which allows to control turbulences, then we can really go free and say, hey, there's 20,000 feet per minute upwind, like you could get in the worst storms now. But users have a way to turn it down, right? Let's say you're in an area, you want to fly live weather, there's a giant storm, but you don't want that much turbulence. because you would not be able to fly with this sorts of plane. We need that additional control to limit turbulences, which we don't have right now.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Seb. All right, we will move on to the future. So, Jorg, I'll kick it off to you for a roadmap.
Roadmap, yeah. I mean, basically, I'm waiting for the slide to show up.
It's there.
Oh, really? Fine. All right, so the next one. So I was looking back quickly at roadmap 2022.
Yes.
And what's cool is that our little advanced calendar is now full. And I would say, what a year it's been. 5 world updates, a city update, 6 local legends, 3 famous flyers. And then we combined a lot of things we had planned into the 40th. And that was all free, so that's cool. So the 7 classic planes, gliders, And then we launched on xCloud, which doubled our audience. That made me happy. Then Maverick in May, I think, was a highlight for many. The Pelican was kind of cool. So it was overall a great year. And I would say before we close the year, there's one more thing we're doing, which is not on these types of things. For those of you who are into local legends, Oliver has been hard at work to make improvements to the 3 planes that he shipped. So the Junkers 52, the Doge, and the F-13 are all planned to get an update in early December.
Nice.
And he added a bunch of features, so it's going to be cool. And then I had a lot of fun last weekend after the event to put on the grid for 2023. Whee! And the funniest thing about it was I had to make the boxes smaller because there's even more things we're doing. So we're planning currently, this is not 100% locked, things move around, but 4 world updates are planned, maybe 5. I heard loud and clear, somebody said in the chat too, city updates, people like those. So we're planning on 3 of them. 7 local legends, 7 famous flyers, sim updates, AAUs, more to that here in a second.
Ooh.
And then 3 surprises. Those are always fun. And we're starting in January with the AAU. And to explain what that all is, Matt Nishan is here from Working Title. Go, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey everybody. Thanks for having me on. It's super cool to talk about this. Yeah, so as Jorg said, we've got this new thing. It's called AAU. What is AAU? It's Aircraft and Avionics Updates. So it's a thing where we're going to focus specifically on certain aircraft, kind of very targeted, specific avionics systems. And we're really going to kind of dial in a lot of the stuff that exists in the sim today is going to be improved. There may be some things that don't exist, you guys will have to find out. But that's kind of what the spirit of the aircraft and avionics updates are going to be. And the other thing that we heard loud and clear from you guys is, you wanted to have the things that were in the sim, like the premium planes, you wanted to see more effort put into those and those evolve over time as some of the other planes have evolved over time. And so we heard you guys loud and clear, and we are definitely going to be bringing some great stuff coming up here soon, which we can talk about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you guys may have already seen the GNS 430W, 530W. It's in the marketplace right now. That is going to become more of a default in some planes in AAU1. And just some stuff about this. So we went and we really kind of did the GNS from the ground up, kind of like we've done with other systems. It looks, almost identical to the real thing. It's got the next gen flight plan stuff, full RNAV procedure previews. We've got the keyboard entry mode, which we know you guys liked a lot about the G1000. It's a lot easier than sometimes it's hard. You're speaking of, we were just talking about a lot of turbulence. Those little knobs in turbulence can get a little bit tricky. So, you can click the input field and just type into it. And that's kind of a shortcut. And we kind of went pretty deep on this too. We've got, ADS-B, the TAS traffic system. It works exactly like the real traffic system does, but straight to, the specifications. And speaking of going crazy, we've got a full GPS simulation now. It tracks the positions of the satellites in the sky. It tells you if you've got, the right navigational accuracy for, RNAV approaches. It's SBAS for all the nerds out there. And we did a bunch of other stuff too. We've got the nearest pages and the waypoint pages and stuff like that, and maps and stuff. And so we've got a couple of screenshots to show you. We won't do a super big set of screenshots, but we've got a couple here. First one here, just we're kind of overhauled the boot up. So I know the little details are fun for folks. It kind of increases immersion. So we've got a whole like boot up screen now with the power on self-test and all that kind of stuff. And then also kind of after this, we're showing our full GPS simulation. So again, you can see the positions of the satellites. Those are real on the menu. We're using orbital mechanics to plot those and to make sure you have the right signal that uses SBAS, and you can see those at the end there. And then the next one we got here is we are also doing the VNAV calculation page. Now the GNS doesn't have a full coupled VNAV. That's outside of the capabilities of the real world unit, but it does have this VNAV calculation page, which is super nice. And it allows you to kind of calculate your vertical speeds that you might need and get a descent profile and all that kind of stuff. So it's really super super handy. So that's the first thing, and that's going to be, like I said, default, not in every plane, but we're going to bring it to some planes because it requires a few changes. Yeah, so we'll be bringing that. And then I know everybody has been waiting for the CJ4 sort of overhaul for a long time. It's taken us a little bit of time, but we took the mod and we said, you know what, that's great, but we're not going to use any of that. We're gonna start fresh. We're gonna get it with all the framework that we built, like with the NXI and now with the GNS, and really kind of make it at that same level. So we've got some improved soundscape that's coming. We've got a totally overhauled flight model, which has been really fun to fly. We've got the avionics that are in the unit. They're getting totally overhauled as far as the visuals go. And even though we were very, very close to the visuals before, folks that fly the plane in real life and other folks that are really into it are going to see the differences, which is really nice. Also has the next gen flight plan stuff, which the mod did not. So you've got RF legs, intercepts, all the crazy complex procedures and arcs and all that stuff is in there. One thing that people have been asking for a long time is the split MFC, or the split, FMCs and MFDs, and those have their own settings. You can store them separately. You can set them up totally separately, and that's really handy, especially for having the tuning page on the co-pilot side and maybe the legs page on the pilot side. So that'll be super neat. We got an improved CAS. So the crew alert messages are all on the MFD now, the co-pilot MFD, as they are on the real plane. And we added a whole bunch of new messages. And we've got a new FMC message system. So you see a bunch of things like, a lot of the V messages or VNAV messages will pop up now. So if you've got, cross-track error and things like that. Full TCAS2, again, spec accurate. You'll get traffic alerts, resolution alerts. We did bring in keyboard entry mode again. We know it's super popular. So, convenience, just click on it, type in. We've got even enhanced the VNAV that we had in the mod. This is even a little bit more advanced. We handle a couple more edge cases. And we did the details like the boot up screen and stuff like that. So got a couple of screenshots here too of the CJ4. This first one here, just showing some of the more advanced flight plan stuff. You can see we've got this crazy kind of RF leg approach. We've got this hole depicted on the missed approach there. And you can see that we've got different things up on the two MFDs. They're totally different. One's in plan mode, one's not. We've got different stuff up on the FMCs. It's super fun. It's a lot of fun to fly. And then similarly on the next screenshot here, just a nice overview of all the different screens. Got the tuning page up on the right side. You've got the FMS text up on the right side, so you can kind of keep track of everything. It's a little bit easier. And then on the next one there, kind of a similar view, just a little bit closer. And with the FMS text, you can have kind of the flight plan that you've got going on. So yeah, we're really excited about that. I think the CJ4 is going to be a blast to fly. Hopefully, a lot of the things that were weird with the mod are addressed here too. So that's really cool. And then something that I know people are really excited about is the Garmin G3000 and G5000 updates. So we've gone, again, kind of a ground up approach to this. You will not be able to tell the difference if you take a screenshot of our unit and the real unit, they look completely the same. It's wild. Super proud of everybody that worked on it, even the little animations. It's just a kind of a visual delight to use and super snappy. Again, next gen flight plan. It actually has two types of VNav. The real units do have this. They have a more limited version, which is kind of like what's on the NXI. And then there's an advanced version, which like the Longitude has. Everything is split, PFDs, MFDs, GTCs, split, separate settings. I know a lot of people have been asking for user-defined waypoints, especially in the NXI. We did develop the tech for that finally, and that is going to be in the G3000, and we'll be porting that back to other units sort of as we go forward in the future and future aircraft and avionics updates. Again, the full GPS simulation, we've got RNAV support, WayNav or waypoint pages, all that stuff. And one of the cool things is we've got plugin support for developers. So developers that want to use the G3000, they can actually get into this by loading a separate JavaScript plugin, and they don't have to fork the code. We just kind of load up their stuff, and it will slot right into the engine instruments, to the GTCs, screens, all that stuff. It's really super cool. So just a couple of screenshots again on this. The first one here, just kind of showing the coupled VNav in the TBM. I know people will be excited about that. I wanted to fly VNav in the TBM for a while. On the next one, we're showing the split PFDs. Again, sort of on the TBM here. And it's really cool. Having split PFDs is really fun because, it's nice to have like a map up on the right side and your PFD gets a little bit more condensed and stuff. It's super neat. And then on the next screenshot here, we're showing making a custom waypoint. So you can do lat long, you can do distance and radial, all that kind of stuff. So it's super cool. And then just a few small things here on the TBM. So we are doing some EIS tweaks. As you could see, I think the EIS you could see in one of the screenshots there, more visual accuracy. Obviously, it includes the new G3000, so all the work that went into that to integrate that into the TBM. We did model the electrical system, so that's modeled now. We ported, the sim has that new electrical system. We ported the stuff into that, which was super great, and did a few tweaks on top, system synoptics, and the doors. I know there have been some sort of unofficial mods for doors for a while, but we got the doors opening now for you guys, so it's all official. And we got kind of saw some screenshots of the avionics, but this next screenshot here is the door. The door is open. So if you need to exit for whatever reason, you can now. So that's good.
Nice.
And then I know very much awaited. We heard you all loud and clear. People said the Longitude is a premium plane. We don't feel like it flies like a premium plane. Well, it's going to fly like a premium plane now. Again, it's got the advanced VNav. We've got path smoothing. You can edit all of the altitude restrictions, your flight path angles. The auto throttle is completely accurate to the real thing. All the real auto throttle modes exist. They work like the real thing does. Again, the full traffic system. We do have performance calculations that are direct from real data. This is not fake stuff, and it will get you the real speeds of the real aircraft. And then after that, the systems they're very deep. We've got a whole bleed air simulation. It affects how the engines start. It affects, can you start things? It goes into the environmental control system. Is your cabin going to be pressurized? Full hydraulics simulation. We've got, we're doing some crazy stuff, right? We're doing what are the temperature of the hydraulic systems, and it's based on what the pressures are that are coming in, where things are being routed, all that kind of stuff. We've got the PTCU, which is kind of a Longitude unique thing. It's a hydraulic power transfer and control unit. It takes electrical power and makes hydraulic power, or it takes hydraulic power and makes electrical power. All the modes of that are fully simulated. The fuel system, we also built on top of the super great Microsoft, the flight sim fuel system. We didn't have to do a lot, but we did enough to kind of make it feel realistic. Again, temperatures, pressures, all the automatic routing logic. Pressurization system, which has the 100% accurate, climb and descent schedules from the real plane. The electrical system with all the automatic bus tie logic on the ground. And you'll see, I say here, norm. So the Longitude is a cool plane. lot of the systems work sort of without you having to do a lot as a pilot, so it keeps the workload low for pilots. So when the plane is in norm, there's a lot of automatic logic happening. And when you open the synoptics pages, you can kind of see that logic in action, and it's all happening in the background for real. So this is going to be a super deep plane, and we think people are gonna really like it. So got a couple screenshots here of that. The first one here we've got
too much.
So yeah, so the first screenshot here, we're just showing the hydraulics synoptic page, the new EIS. You can see we've got the landing elevation, all that stuff is properly automated. We modeled the hydraulic accumulators with the PTCU icon in here. On the next one, we've got the advanced VNAV that we're showing. You can see all the different constraints, altitudes, flight plan, flight path angles, all that stuff. And then real quick on the last page, kind of just the grandiose cockpit view. You can see we've got both PFDs split. We've got the pre-flight page, which has real tests, and the tests are actually performed at the right times, as well as you can see the ECS page here, which is showing the path of the bleed air, and all that stuff also operates, and the logic does the thing. So we think you guys will really be happy. We think it's going to be something that people will be proud to own in the premium package. And we hope it kind of reinforces that we are in this for the long haul. We want to, give you guys the best stuff that we possibly can, to fly with. So,
Hey Matt, is this all for January?
I believe it is, isn't it?
There's two
All
more
of
of these
it.
things coming in 2023.
Yeah.
No, I mean, seriously, we heard you, right? I mean, we honestly, we felt bad about the premium planes got underserved over time, and that is all going to get rectified this next year. So thank you for waiting and for the patience. But yeah, I agree with the chat. The combo of Asobo making the base sim and making this whole thing work, and then on top of that, you have a specialist group like Working Title. This is an awesome combo. So I hope you all will enjoy it.
Yep, we're super excited. I know the joke on our server has been on or before December 31st. That will still be true. There will be a flighting for this stuff. So we'll get that stuff in your hands. You can test it, and we'll get feedback. And we do want to make it the best we can be. So we're super excited.
Incredible work. Thank you for sharing, Matt. And as always, we appreciate you joining us for our stream. I think it's very obvious from chat that we're all very excited about this. We'll see you soon. I can't wait for January.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. So
这也太猛点了吧，这个。
our next announcements.
Well, it's stuff we should have talked about a while ago. We got a little bit out of rhythm because the 40th was such a monster. But yeah, I mean, so is there another slide, Jane? I don't even say the slide.
There is. It's the announcement slide. So if you're ready,
I think I'm ready. The next
right.
the next world update. Is that it?
Yep. Next world update. 12.
Very happy to say it's going to be New Zealand, which was much requested by many. I have to say, New Zealand. I've been there, and it's my favorite country now. It used to be Switzerland from a beauty perspective, but the New Zealanders are also so nice. So they have a beautiful country, and they're so nice. So we are going to update everything. I'm seeing Orbex here. They did most of it. We have all new aerials, all new DEM. I have a couple of pictures, so if you want to go through it.
Sure thing.
Just a few, just a tease today. Well, just keep going. Just some impressions. New Zealand is beautiful. Yep. And the summary page. Yeah, we'll have 4 bespoke airports, maybe more. We're still talking to some folks. We have 30 POIs right now. We'll probably make some more because we're talking to some folks. There are 6 photogrammetry cities. They're done. Cool. And then we'll make landing challenges, bush trips, discovery flags, like always. And I think it's going to be a beautiful update, really, of a very beautiful country.
And to go along with that, Local Legend 8.
Local Legend 8. We thought about which one makes a lot of sense for New Zealand, and we landed on the de Havilland DHC4 Caribou, and also it's made by Orbex. And I was hesitating to show you the first pictures, and we was like, well, it's not textured yet, but they're hard at work. But then I asked everybody else on the chat, and they're like, oh, this looks cool. So here's the exterior. It's currently being textured, and here's the interior. And I think that the team is making tons of progress. I think it's going to be a really nice local legend.
Mm-hmm.
All coming to you, by the way, February 7th, or maybe 8th. They're still discussing because of some holiday in New Zealand that time.
Gotcha.
And then in March, and I didn't put a slide here, there's Sim Update 12. And Sim Update 12 will bring finally WASM support, which we've all been waiting for patiently. And it's going to be really cool for people on Xbox. But it is also something that held back a highly complex plane that we've also talked about for a while. And we have a guest, a long lost friend is here today. So, hey.
We do. Welcome, Hans Hartmann.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. So, can you tell us about how development has been going on the ATR?
Yes, we've been hard at work all the time since we started the project in January. A little summary for people who don't know about it yet. We've been working with ATR, the company ATR in Toulouse, and the contents of the project are the ATR 42-600, 72-600, and 72-600 freighters. This is all up to where we have full support from ATR, which allows us to simulate the full standard free software on board. So, for example, we have advanced avionics, which includes a synthetic vision system, means you can see the ground and terrain outside on the PFD, like in a G1000, for example. Terrain awareness system, awareness and warning system, the TOS, which is on the upper right picture on this slide. That's taken from Innsbruck, so you can see the small valley rising up from the airport. So everything is red and yellow, but this is probably the best way to show it. It also includes weather radar. Weather radar, as Zeb said earlier, will be improved. So it will hopefully look a bit better than on this screenshot. And of course, the ground map, ground terrain, which in this case, in the left picture, would be the Elbe River in Hamburg, in Germany. And it also includes airport ground maps and the full set of ATR procedures and alerts technologies. On these screenshots, you can see in the lower area of the right display the so-called virtual control panel. This allows you to configure your whole avionics. It's completely unlike everything I've seen before. So you configure you can set your frequencies for communications for VOR, ILS, and ADFs. You can set your traffic and weather radar configuration. You can control the synthetic vision system and whatever you want to see on the MFD and PFD. This is controlled by a panel next to the throttle levers. However, we decided to add an optional touchscreen support for this. This is not realistic, of course, but it makes using this menu a lot easier. Okay, can we have the next one, Jane?
Yes, there we go.
Okay, so this is another one where you can see the avionics, and in this case, turning on an ILS for London City. There's nothing special to add here, I think. So the next, yeah, we're working on an electronic flight bag. This is totally based on real ATR data, on documents they sent us. It calculates every sort of speed, the center of gravity, takeoff trim, and whatever you like, including landing data, how many feet or meters you need to get the aircraft to a stop. This, no matter in different surface conditions as well. It includes icing conditions, which the ATR is known for to be sometimes a bit challenging if you don't follow the procedures the correct way. So this is all included in the electronic flight bag. You get every information you would normally look up from the manuals, and what you get is really beyond what is written in the FCOM or QRH. Okay, can we get the next one?
Yes.
Okay. These the other 3 pages are mostly to control the aircraft, open doors, close doors, set the aircraft states to these 4 presets. Things like updating or calibrating throttles, so you can use any hardware you like with the power levers and condition levers. It also includes maintenance functions like replacing the fire protection system squibs. That's a very small explosive charge which opens the bottle, which after that it discharges the fire extinguishing agent, and of course to refill the bottles and several other things but that come to the aircraft, belong to the aircraft maintenance. Okay, the next is systems and FMS. In this one, people with eagle eyes will instantly notice the high speed upon leaving Hamburg. That's already fixed. I prefer to say it myself before I read it elsewhere. So all the systems are simulated in depth based on the on ATR's documentation, including the FMS with all calculations, including things like single engine cruise altitude calculation. The propeller brake means hotel mode. Hotel mode is something like an APU, but it's realized by letting the right engine run and stopping the propeller hydraulically. So all the systems are there. Electronics, hydraulics, anti-ice, and so on. Okay, same for the FMS. It's two separate FMS with all the pages implemented, except for there are a few hover and tactical pages in the documentation, but those are not probably not available in a civilian plane. Okay, from the outside, you can see the propeller brake here. This is the same screenshot from the same plane. One on the left is the left engine is running, the right engine is not running, or the right propeller is not moving. On the right side, you can see that the left engine is running and the right engine produces torque, but the propeller brake is on and it only produces power. It doesn't produce any thrust in this case. On the bottom of the screen, you can see the one of the checklists. The checklists are based on data that we received from ATR, it's the exact same data that is in the actual aircraft. There's no difference between that. So including one typo, but I think we fixed that. So furthermore, the ATPCS, that's the system that increases power on one engine if the other fails on takeoff, the so-called uptrim. And of course, the power management system with the whole, again, the whole set of data behind it for all possible modes, from takeoff, maximum continuous torque, to climb, to cruise mode, including reserved takeoff if an engine fails on takeoff, and go around modes. So everything is in there data-wise. Which together with the next one, with Alexander Metzger's flight model and engine model, which is it's hard to depict how good this works, but if you look at the third column in the Excel part, you can see that everything is very close to reality, just within sometimes within less than 1%, and this makes the aircraft really fly like the real thing in the end. We also have very accurate modeling of the payload, and all based on original load sheets, which also allows, as you could see in the EFB section earlier, the graphs which give you center of gravity and calculate the takeoff trim. So all this is in the product. I think that's all for the flight. And on the last slide, this is done by Asobo, not by us, or not by my team. We have a full, highly detailed passenger cabin, which also is not low poly. So everything is absolutely detailed, and it uses LOTs to use less polygons on the far away items. So it's both high polygon, high quality, and it doesn't affect your performance, which overall is very good on the whole plane. And the final one is the favorite of most, I think. The document door, this time in a further state than when I did the last Dev Q&A in May. You can even see the outside livery. In this case, it's just white at this place, but when you open the flap and to hand out or receive some documents, you really see what the plane looks on the outside at this place. So that's a really nice thing. Yeah. Okay. And with that, I guess I say I'm back to work.
知道你来晚了，刚才的料更猛，刚才的料特别猛。一会儿，当然一会儿我会总结一下。
Totally. So, and I'm really looking forward to how it's received by the public then.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, we just talked about, because I think this is our first plane, the expert series, right? As you remember, maybe. We talked a lot about the A310 videos that the I&I builds folks made, and feedback has been great, by the way. So I'm glad that it's all happening. And I think for the ATR, we're going to look at something similar. We haven't really decided exactly what, but I think it's a good practice. And I saw a bunch of things about manuals, and I agree, we need to find a single position. So Matt, I think, wants to put up the manual for the longitude somewhere. So we'll work on that.
Yep. All right. We appreciate you coming on today, Hans. I know a lot of people here are thrilled to see your progress. Thank you again for joining us. We can't wait for March.
这有点猛啊！
All right. So let's move on. I know now that we've talked about all this, you have a little flipping of the screen here. So I'll go back to that. There we go.
Oh, that was just the roadmap-y thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this, right? I said that last year. Advanced calendars are fun because you open the next doors always in anticipation. So this is what we announced today. AAU1 coming in January, in February, New Zealand and the Caribou, and then in March, Sim Update 12 and the ATR. And then we're going to flip them over as we go. And I think you will be very happy with some of the surprises we have in store.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, let's move on then to our final portion of the stream, our final Q&A. It's where we'll answer some of your questions. We'll have a discussion about some of the feature requests that we've received on the forums. So at this time, chat, feel free to ask any development-related questions. And just a reminder that we have an SDK Q&A next Wednesday at the same time this stream was. So if you do have any SDK questions, hold them for that stream, because that's when we'll have our SDK team on to chat about what's coming there. So first, I just want to say we reviewed a lot of the forum questions over the past few weeks. There were a lot of great feature requests. I think the overall feeling in the forums, they're asking, what's next? What do you plan on prioritizing? So Jorgen said, I'd love to just run down this list a little bit to some of these questions, get your thoughts on them. I think as much as you'd like to answer.
I mean, I should just say, planning is a dynamic thing, right? We always say, if you plan out every minute of your life, then you're not flexible at all. So we are keeping ourselves agile. That is what I would say. So just take it from that perspective. We haven't locked everything for the next 12 months.
Right. I have seen, as this question come in throughout the past several minutes, more sensitive question is, how are things going with Antonov and 2? They know it's a subject that's a bit sensitive to talk about.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Andre is cool. Andre is now, I don't know if I can or should say, but he's moved and he's situated well in the new location where he's at. We talk, and we are tantalizingly close. So we're talking with Antonov, and it's going really well. And I mean, honestly, the way it goes with contracts, you talk for 2 years and then it takes a day, right? So I think we're very, very close. So it could be that the Antonov is one of those next plane things that we flip over. No, it is. So it's coming, and he's working hard on it. And our team is testing it and everything. So don't worry about it. It's coming.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's get into some of these questions that we were seeing. So some of the feature requests we saw in the forums, was there any update? We see a question here about ray tracing coming to the sim. Seb, I think this is for you.
So I don't have an ETA. Team is working on it. When we have an ETA, we're gonna talk about it more.
Yeah.
But right now, team is working on it.
Yeah. And going back to WASM, I know we announced that's going to be coming with Sim Update 12. Some forum users wanted to know, what kind of challenges have you encountered that kind of pushed it out, and how's it been kind of trying to implement this on Xbox?
I can speak to what I know, which isn't that terribly much. I think we want to make sure that the consumer experience is good, because it's never been done, right? So and it's working, but the consumer experience wasn't good enough, and that requires additional work, and that is what the team is working on. Yeah. So I don't know if you have any more specifics.
Yeah, I'm not looking into this too much. Yeah, no more than you.
Cool.
But I know I think we should all, once it's done, it's a milestone for console gaming. That is the thing. And so, but it really takes time. We need to get it right. So that's why we moved it to March. We tried hard. It was, at some point, it was planned for late November. And then we basically we said, you know what, we're going to do the AAU, very specific, focused work from working title, which I think is going to delight everybody.
Mhm.
And then we'll give the other one a little bit more baking time in the oven, which is, I think, good.
Yep. Yep. And one of the top voted questions was about water physics. Have we thought about what future improvements to water physics, how planes steer or maneuver in the water, and especially in choppy water?
Yes, this has been on the backlog for a long time.
Mhm.
I would say that generally a lot of our time went into helicopters and gliders lately. And now that we are through this, so we have reserved some time for feedback improvements there. But yeah, we as many things we have already done a few tweaks, and I think the next step into water physics is to really get it right. So this is something which is down the road. I don't have an ETA, but we're starting to look at these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we say that, like there are two topics like this that I think there's probably three: seasons, ATR, and water. It's all kind of in the, it's a nice, simple, short word, but the implications of it all are huge. So it is going to take a good long time. So don't expect that, don't be all sad if it doesn't happen in 23.
Wait, you said ATR, did you mean
ATC?
ATC? Okay, ATC.
Good morning.
Got it. Yep, that sounds good. So, okay, here's a fun one I saw. So now that gliders are in, what do you think of the future of birds in our sim? They help us find those thermals. So have you thought about that?
Yep. It's another one of those features. You can stick in bird. I mean, I've seen some birds. I've bought some airports that had some birds flying around, but it's super simple, right? There's a little script and there's some birds flying around. You could do that. It's just kind of, it's one-offy nice, but we are a platform, and so we need to do this systemically right, and that is a lot more work. So I think you'll see that at some point, but again, it's one of those, we talk about it, but it's not been prioritized. There's other things that are more important.
Yeah. Here's a question here. I know we don't have Martial, so I don't know if either of you will know this one, but this one's about AI traffic specifically. This question is, what's Asobo doing to ensure both internal AI solutions and those by third parties are not regressed by changes you make? And I think this is in reference to some of the issues that have popped up with the SU11 and the implications of SimConnect.
Do you want to speak to this, Seb?
I mean, I think we've introduced the flighting, which really helps a lot. I mean, we do as much testing as we can, and then during flighting, there's a lot of stuff which is brought up, we have longer and longer flightings, so that's really helping. And I think that's the best way. I mean, we always do code reviews. We try to not break things, but systems sometimes are so complex that you can just not see the change, the relationship to another system, change it, break it, and nobody sees it in any QA team. There's a few. I mean, there's not just one QA team. There's several, and then even sometimes people don't see things during flighting. But yeah, I think flighting has helped us a lot to get out releases that are as little regressions as possible. And then, well, like just right now we're doing flighting on a new hotfix, so that's what we're doing on these topics.
I would say, I mean, that came up immediately. Kai wrote us an email, detailed email, and obviously that went straight to the team. So Kai from AIG, right? Went straight to the team. Team looked at it. So I think that's what what Seb said is the base point, right? Please play the betas. That's what we're doing them for. We've extended them to multiple months, which I think is good. And then getting early enough information. I think on this particular case, we got the information too late. And then we should probably look into why is that. But in general, I think communication lines are open, and then team will do best possible work to make everything harmonious.
Yeah. Thank you both. So I know we talked about this in a previous Q&A. It came as a top question again. So when we see roads that look too green in the sim, why is that, and how do we fix that on Asobo's side?
Yes, so it's either because in the satellite data the road is green, which can happen, right? Sometimes exposure or ambient lighting makes the road being green. Sometimes it can also be so there's a system, when you look at some satellite data, sometimes you see cuts, like some pictures are taken in the morning, some pictures are taken in the evening, or different seasons, or different just air color, and so there's color cuts, and so there's a system which takes different satellite images and tries to sort of color correct them so that they have you don't see the cut anymore. And that also sometimes, well, something which was gray in the satellite data turns a little bit into green in order to fix the junction with the next whatever is next to it. And also sometimes this is not perfect. So this is stuff where we're doing R&D to try to improve things, and yeah, it's going on. And as soon as we have a better solution to fix this, well, we'll move forward on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Seb. With gliders, are there any plans down the line to add multiplayer for tow planes for the glider pilots, not AI controlled, but actual people?
Down the line.
Ooh.
Down the line. Yep.
Okay.
It came up during development, but just didn't fit.
Yeah. Another question: do you all plan on doing more future collaborations like what you did with Halo and Top Gun?
Could be some surprises. Could be possible.
Awesome. Thank you. And this is a question about, do we have any details to share, I think, on the DLSS issue that blurs the cockpit avionics a little bit? I don't know if either of you might have.
Jörg, I have not looked into this.
Yeah.
I've heard about it, so
Yeah.
I know the team is aware of it. I don't,
Yeah.
unfortunately. That's why we need Martial. Where is that man? No, I mean, I think they're looking into it, but honestly, we were so busy with the 40th, it was kind of. We are just now getting back to work and actually like, okay, look ahead, 2020. I mean, that's why I made the little grid and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll look into all these things, and as you know, we'll read the feedback and it'll be looked at.
Yeah. So I was certainly aware and looking into it.
Oh, can I say one thing? Because a couple of people said it.
Go for it.
So one of the things, so I think we had a fantastic year with you all. So thank you for all that. There's one thing that I'm not exactly proud of, which is the 10 cities in World Update Canada. And I just wanted to assure everybody that we are hard at work to making them better.
Okay.
And on top of that, I also want to say I am, like you, quite tired of bridges that I can't fly under. So we put a team on. It's gonna take time, but we put a team on fixing all the 3D bridges, all the ones that you can realistically fly under, right? There's little foot bridges and stuff. We're not gonna fix those, but there's a team at Gaia now fixing bridges, and we will release them sort of as we go. At some point I was like, should we wait? Should we just do one big thing? Like, nah. So I think the first one that's going to come out is the City Update 1 Germany, because Gaia has already done fixing all these bridges, and they're currently working on Canada. So just know, I read all this. It hurt this time because we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. We're like, ooh, we have all these cities for Canada, 13 cities, let's do it. And those things are ginormous, and we didn't clean them up well enough. So that's learnings. I think hopefully we'll learn for that next year, but it'll be better. Sorry for all the Canadians.
I'm sure. Yeah, we appreciate you letting us know an update on that, Jörg. And we're looking forward to it.
Which update?
Yeah. A couple more feature requests I saw on the forums. Do we plan on increasing the number of Azure ATC voices?
It's been talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the timeline is. I know there are more than what we're currently using.
Yeah.
I think there's sort of a balance to be found with, there's something we call G4E, gaming for everyone. We're looking for, appropriate representation and being inclusive, and that's important. So in the context of that, we're looking into all this.
Yeah. A few more. This is particle effects for wipers wiping away rain. Is that something we're considering?
Seb, do you know?
I think I've seen it somewhere on.
I've seen it too.
Okay, so possibly.
I don't know when.
Yeah. And I'll ask you here, plans to update runway and taxi lighting to look more realistic and positioned correctly?
I mean, look, the answer to all these questions is, I think as we probably know by now, 27 updates in, there's going to be more updates. So we are continuously trying to prioritize. That's what and I've been slacking a little bit on the feedback snapshot. So I'm going to get back on this with Martial and Seb. we prioritize that way, right? We prioritize on votes often. Like sometimes it takes longer, you know. I think this weather radar thing has been around forever. Same with the photogrammetry cities. And some of these fixes take a long time. But in general, when you say something comes up, we look at it, put it on the list. And whenever we have bandwidth to do it, we do it. So, and I think that's true for what you just said with the runway lights.
Yeah.
For sure.
Certainly. Okay, and one question here about the marketplace, more so about how it works, the pipeline. So when a third-party dev submits their product to the marketplace, what kind of checks or what do we do internally before it gets released out to the public?
Well, we ingest it. I mean, the thing, yeah, that's an interesting topic because at some point, you know, I'm from Germany, as you can probably hear. It's not hard. I said, you know, this is a worldwide game. We need to translate everything. That's Jörg's general attitude to things. And then I said, we need to translate the marketplace. Otherwise, people don't even know what they're buying. And so I think we're translating it in the 13 languages. And somebody was asking about Korean. Yep, we're doing Korean and all that. So it's going to be at some point 15 languages. And guess what? That is hard, you know, coordinating, because people type, you know, they write their own descriptions, and then we have to go blast that out into the world of translations. And until that gets back, that is actually weeks and weeks of time. So then the developer is like, hey, I want my stuff out there. And we're like, well, we want to translate it. And at some point, I'm actually going to take a look at this again. Do people actually care that it's translated, or do they want it faster? Because that's one of the real issues that is making this slow. Another is just the volume. There's been a shocking amount of content coming from creators, and what's also great is that people are fixing things. They're making them better, so we get more and more updates. Which we prioritize for example, because the logic is if somebody bought something and there's an update, we need to get it out there ASAP, right? Because they already trusted us or the developer with money. So, and there's a lot of this getting more and more, right? The more items we get. So we are hiring more people on both the program management side and on the dev side to automate more things, because there's just thousands of things, and that's what we're doing. But we are fully aware and highly motivated to fix this. So just wait a little bit, but we're investing.
Okay, good to know. Thanks, Jörg. Yeah, see, Alex, faster instead of translating. Oh, thank you for that feedback, chat. We are coming up to the end here. Are there anything that you, Jörg, or Seb would like to say or chat about before we end the stream?
Convince Phil Spencer for VR support. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to listen to little Jordi, but yeah, it comes up, but it's, you know, I want to. I mean, I would just say, again, like always, I want to say thank you for being with us and to being on the journey. And it really is a journey. And I think it's kind of shocking to say it's been 27 months, but it's been super fun. And looking ahead next year, I think you saw the chock full calendar of goodies, and I think it's going to be a great year of simming and for aviation in general. So I'm genuinely, I couldn't be more excited. The 40th was awesome. The event was awesome. The love from everybody doesn't get any better. You know, some people, like there's some reporters that ask me, hey, so you know what's next? Are you done with flights? And I was like, we're just at the beginning of things, and I couldn't be happier. We're working with a dedicated community who actually care, or in York language, give a shit, and we get to make things better and make people happy. It doesn't get better than this. It's the best job ever. So thank you.
Thank you, Jörg. All right, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much to everyone who made this stream today and contributed. Feel free to stick around, though. I'll be transitioning to our community fly-in Friday with me, CD Peter, and Simtom. Everyone's welcome to fly along, no matter your skill level or platform. And thank you again, Jörg, Seb, as well as Matt and Hans for joining us today. We'll see you at our next developer stream in a few months. So everyone have a great holiday, and stay tuned for a special video and then a community fly-in. Bye, everyone.
No, not the video.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful holiday.
你说的 MGC 是谁？视频。
Man is no longer earthbound. He rides the airways with a thrust of bright propellers and the flash of gleaming wings.
Flying, if you haven't flown, it's a beautiful thing. When you talk to pilots, about 50% of them tell you that their first touch point was Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Clouds at 1,000 feet aperture, 17 dew point, 10 altimeter 290.
The newest, the largest, and the fastest planes in the world. A new age begins.
We are here at the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum in McMinnville, Oregon, to celebrate the 40th anniversary edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator.
We have over 30 creators and press from all over the world that have come to be here for part of this special event.
It's all about celebrating the history of aviation. One of the fascinating things of aviation is that it's been around for 120 years, and Microsoft Flight Simulator has been for 40 years, so a third of that time. What's standing tall in the history of aviation is the Spruce Goose. Only one person has ever flown the Spruce Goose, and what's nice about this is after today, anybody can.
Getting to see all the different things that you can do in Microsoft Flight Sim, it makes me happy as a pilot.
The team actually talked a lot about what made it endure, why 40 years. And we think it's because it stayed true to its vision. And the vision is to achieve realism, accuracy, and authenticity of flight.
I feel like I'm flying and I feel like I'm getting to see the world. That's why people play this game.
Now that we have become even more accessible by going to Xbox, and with Xbox everywhere, pretty much on any machine, I think we are democratizing the dream of flight. It's a dream that has been with mankind for a long, long time.
这视频就是吹牛逼啊，很吹牛逼啊！